Throughout the church year, the church has these feasts that we celebrate, and on occasion, a feast ends up on a Sunday. And so that's what's happened today. We have the Feast of the Transfiguration, which is always August 6th. I know it's the 5th today, but it's anticipating. So August 6th, every year, is this Feast of the Transfiguration. The church has been celebrating this since the 1400s, I believe. So we kind of pause for a little bit and look at these readings. You might think, well, didn't we have the Transfiguration recently? In Lent, almost every year in Lent, we end up with this gospel as a way of preparing us for what Jesus is going to go through, because that's actually what he was doing for those disciples. They're on their way to Jerusalem. What lies ahead is going to be tough. And so Jesus has been warning them that he is going to suffer and die. Now he gives them a little glimpse of what he's really like. It has been called, for those many years, Transfiguration. But I'm not sure if that's a good title. Because Transfiguration seems to say that he changed, that he was one thing and then he was transfigured and became something else. And really, I don't know if he was transfigured or if it was more of a revelation that those three disciples finally saw him as he is, in his glory. So it was more like the scales falling from their eyes just for a few moments. Just for a little bit, they could see the reality, rather than it being hidden under so much humanity. A little glimpse as to what he's really like. The Pew Research folks, when they've done a little poll on you and I, on Christians, they would say half of us here have had somewhat of a similar experience. Maybe not seeing Jesus in all his glory, but we have sensed the divine where we wouldn't have expected the divine. Maybe it was on a mountaintop or by the ocean. I know a fellow I know quite well who was an atheist, a pretty strong atheist, bright guy. But when his first child was born, he sensed God and believed from that point on that there was a God. So it might be in the birth of a child, or just looking into the face of your child and sensing the presence of God. It might be sitting at a bar with a group of your friends, having a beer, and everybody's sitting around talking, and just right then you think, God's here. I feel God here. I know God's here right now. Half of us, they say, will admit it. Maybe the other half of us have had it, but we just have a hard time telling people, well, I don't tell anybody that story of when I really felt the presence of God. No, that's just kind of too weird to tell people. But yeah, one time I was just sitting in the parking lot of Target, and I was sitting there waiting, and I felt God there talking to me. Because God is always there. Just like Jesus was always divine. But every once in a while, God lets us see the reality, know God's presence. The great mystics will tell us that you know it truly is God when you can't plan it. If you can sit down and meditate and, there was God. Probably not God. You're just really good at meditating. And you can, kind of make it feel that way. But if it's truly God, God decides. Not you, not me. On occasion, it will happen. But the great mystics will also tell us that if we don't put ourselves into the presence of God, it'll never happen. So we have to pray. We have to be there. I don't recall which one of the great authors said this about the sunrise. The sunrise is a beautiful thing, but you got to wake up and go out there to see the sunrise. Otherwise, you're going to miss it every morning. The same with the presence of God. You have to go there. You have to spend the time. You have to be with God, and then on occasion, God will reveal himself to you. A little glimpse of that kind of power and that kind of glory. And perhaps, like this young man that I know who became a Christian over that experience, it might change your life forever. It might make you different. Now, Peter tells us in that second reading today that yes, he was there. He saw Jesus' glory, and now, later on, he's writing about it, and it was amazing. We heard the voice of God. We heard God say, "This is my beloved Son, listen to him." But the reality was, while Peter had heard it, he still ran away. He still denied Jesus. So it didn't radically change him. But hopefully it planted a seed so that he was ready, not for the crucifixion, but ready for the resurrection. And why he ran to the tomb when he heard it was empty. Because that little bit of revelation got him ready. So for us, we need to see those little glimpses of God so that we too are ready to encounter God face to face in heaven, but ready even here for those little moments along the way when God is there, so we can see him. So on this Feast of the Transfiguration, just a little encouragement to spend that kind of time so that you too, like those disciples, can see the divine when the divine is present. And the reality is, even if we don't see the divine, amazing things might happen around us if we just take the time to be with God. One of my favorite ones is early in the Acts of the Apostles. Peter, John have been arrested and are in prison. They're chained, they've been whipped, and they're chained to the wall. So a very uncomfortable place to sleep, having your arms and legs chained to a wall. They're there in the prison, and how do they respond to their predicament? They sing songs of praise. So all the rest of the soldiers are listening to them sing songs. They didn't ask God, let us out. What are we doing here? They didn't complain. They just sang songs to praise God. And what happens is an earthquake. An earthquake that releases them from their chains, that opens the doors, that lets all the prisoners out. But they didn't even leave. The guard was going to kill himself because he thought, oh no, everybody's got out. Instead, but they yell at him, don't, we're still here. Why are you still here? Oh, we're singing songs. So he lets them out, becomes a Christian himself. Amazing things happen. Even if it's not divine revelation, God will do things around you and make things happen as they need to happen.